welcome to the show. We're here with Preston Caffrey, who's been in the origination business for over 20 years. And he does a ton of non-QM, but also has originated over, like in 1 month, 40 loans with no processor, but knows how to originate non-QM. We're going to share a ton of ideas. Also, we're here with Austin West, who's also done a ton of non-QM loans, and he runs a team, works for Fairway, and is ready to share his secrets with you about how to originate non-QM. So welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks.
Well, happy to be here.
Yeah. So what's going on in the market? It's crazy.
Market is amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
In fact, it actually is really good for non-QM.
It is.
Because we're no longer in the rate shop world.
Yeah, you don't have a borrower call and say, "Can I get 2.1?" And no, I can give you 2.2, and then they're like, next, right?
In fact, now every time they call, it's actually higher. So you're doing the opposite.
You're like, you should have locked. You should have went with me. Okay, fine, I'll take it.
Yeah,
right?
for the first time, I did not get pushback when I quoted a bank statement loan to somebody. I think it was at 5.375, and they're like, "Okay, so we're pretty close to what everybody else is paying in the market. Let's get this thing going." So usually, you always have the uphill battle.
Yep.
But this time, now that even though non-QM is going up as well, right? It's not as dramatic.
Yep.
I think over the last 4 months, we've seen like 1.25%, 1.5% increase on the agency side. Not quite as high in jumbo, but compared to maybe 3/4 on non-QM. So it's like the closer those margins get, the much easier it becomes for us to originate non-QM with all those annoying pushbacks that you get.
And I think to remember that there was a time not so long ago when we sent out a flyer, actually IMS lending days, 5.99 30-year fixed. And people were calling in and they could not believe, no, this has got to be fake. There's no way. For 30 years.
How do you get that low of a rate?
You're going to do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's take a step back and realize that, rates are higher than they were.
Right.
But if you had money right now, just remember, would you loan it to somebody? And if you would, what return would you want on your money?
20%.
Okay, so that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think people need to take a step back and realize they're borrowing money.
Yep.
At the end of the day, and I had to borrow money to buy my home. Like when you borrow money, it is what it is. So to realize that we're still in a great time, rates are still really low, business should be happening. I think that non-QM, if at any time, is now going to hold its stance and say we're here to stay. This is not the subprime of the world.
No.
Right? This is a real legitimate marketplace. And,
right.
And I think it's really
it's
good.
an answer to the ATR problem, which is what the banks, the banks require, the law, right, requires ATR to be proven. And the banks just never got savvy enough to do bank statements or didn't want to mess with it because it was like, it's going to be tricky or whatever, safe harbor and all this stuff, right? But how you think about, with the interest-only feature, as originators, when you're selling these loans, how often do you first now lead with payment? Do you lead with payment or do you still lead with the rate? Like when you talk to them about their new...
Well, you got to look at the market, If you asked me 6 months ago, I was leading with rate. If you ask me now, I'm leading with payment, right?
Right.
And to hop on his point, too, something I've been loving to do, obviously, is to work for you. So, I'm a numbers guy. I always like to pitch things in a data-type way. Is I pulled all of the rates from every month going back until pre-crash, so 2006 to current, so about 17 years at 15, 16, 17 years of data. And the average rate over that entire period of time, including the 3 years in history where rates were the absolute lowest, I think it was something like 2010, 12, and 19, I think were the three on a 12-month total year average. That 16-year average... 15 years, I think it was what it actually was. With 3 of the lowest averages in history of mortgage rates, your average on the agency side was still 4.99%. So if that's your average with 3 of the lowest years in history inclusive, but you can look at a non-QM bank statement loan, even at some of the minimum downs, as long, obviously FICO requirements, 24 months, things of that nature, you're still sitting in the low 5s. I mean, it becomes a no-brainer at that point. Can't remember the question you asked, but I just want to pile on that. It's like, people love to get caught up in this moment like, well, back in November when I started looking, it was this. Well, but let's look at the bigger picture. Yeah. If you were buying a house in the 90s, you were paying probably 7%, right? In the early 2000s, you were paying right around 6%. So doesn't matter if you're sitting the high 4s, low 5s right now, you're still getting an incredible rate if you look at the bigger picture of what everything brings to the table.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy where like when the rate does a little snap like it just did, all of a sudden everything like takes the wind out of the sails and your borrowers are all like, what? And they kind of, you feel like they're going to go away. You feel like your pipeline's gone and you're like, have this depressing moment, but then you like, then the phone starts ringing again. They're like, well, I shopped around and everyone's high. You're like, yeah, that's the market. Right. And so let me see what I can get you. And then they're a little more like accepting at that point. Right. I mean, is that what your experience has been?
I'm not selling rate or
payment.
I actually sell qualification.
Oh, do you even qualify?
Yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, that is the reality, right? You can promise the world with a low payment, low interest rate, whatever, but if you can't get the loan, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. What is a 2% rate if you can't even get the loan?
Yeah. Let's start with qualification. If you qualify, now let's look at the payment options. Let's look at the rate options, interest only, whatever. But like, I think a lot of people, especially self-employed or I would say the non-QM community, when they come in because they got turned down by their bank, the first question is, do I qualify?
Yeah.
Right?
That's
and
true.
so let's say, yes, we can get you money. And now let's figure out that part.
Let's figure out what rate you qualify for.
Yeah.
Because there's a wide range of rates because you don't qualify for the bank rate.
Right.
But you qualify for maybe one of our rates and maybe a private, if not, maybe a private loan rate, which is going to be even higher. But I think with that mentality, going off the qualify thing, you're also, it's kind of more of a referral kind of business. Because if they got turned down by a bank, then they are worried about like, do I even qualify for it, right? So that kind of leads us to, where do we find these loans, right? Where do we find non-QM loans?
Yeah.
And I know you guys find them because you're submitting them and you guys are still, in business and rocking. So let's start with, Preston, where are your loans coming from? I know you get a lot of referrals from past clients and business, and that's great. But like, if you were to go try to find new business right now, like where are those loans coming from, or where would you go?
Yeah, what's funny is it's kind of the same as it's always been, which is when you need more business, right? When referrals aren't coming in at the level that you'd want or whatever along those lines. For me, it's always going back to the original sources, which is CPAs, real estate agents. And what's funny in that sort of like the financial planners of the world, those are the people who I'm doing the non-QM loans for first.
Right.
So as we're entering this zone and this time, I'm actually doing loans for the agents, for my financial planners, for the CPA. And then they're going, okay.
They know it's real. They can get the loan and it's not that bad. The rate's not that bad, or the payment, I should say, is not that bad.
Right. And so then they are now saying, hey, well, I've got a guy that needs to get this. And so that's how the referrals are coming in, is through that source. And so I think letting them know, look, this is still available. While other things are tightening up, as rates go up, as money gets tight, these loans are still available. Yeah, the rates are different. But at the end of the day, it's, you want to buy a house, you want to refinance your house, you got to qualify first. And so going to the sources who are helping people get into homes or helping people file their taxes, manage their money, that's always been the best source for me.
That's good.
Yeah. No more flyers. I got to do that again, though.
Yeah, that's expensive. You got to spend money if you do that. Otherwise, it's just fun lunches, right? You go to lunch with your realtor or your CPA or whatever. What about you? I know you have a lead system, right, with Fairway? Or?
Yeah, so our team, I think we're at around 15 producers now, and we're a very big lead generation team. So on average, per day, we'll have between 50 and 150 leads come in for our guys. So we're purchasing the thousands of leads per month.
Wow.
And, there's upsides and downsides of that, but one of the upsides is a lot of these leads that we get are the people that went to their bank, right? Like most people do. That is the first place they go. Number 2 is online right now. Online is the fastest growing lead generation source outside of people going directly to the bank right now. They go to the bank, they can't get qualified.
Right.
Most people just think, oh, my bank doesn't know what they're doing. They're not a mortgage company. Let me go online and see what else is out there, right? Yep. So we'll get these leads that come in that said, yep, I went to my bank, I talked to them, they don't qualify, but, do you guys have a 1-year tax return? They aren't even aware of what's offered. They're just kind of throwing their fishing line out there, hoping something's able to bite. So strangely, a lot of these new originators that we brought over in the last year or two, they had history doing this with other companies, but never once in their life did they talk about or even know what a non-QM loan was.
Right.
And for somebody that started in wholesale, only ever knowing non-QM, I did a couple $100 million in non-QM business before I ever read an agency guideline.
Right.
It blew my mind, right? How we have... I can think of a couple in particular. Combined, these guys had done over 100 million in their career, but have never once even looked at, discussed, quoted, or knew a bank statement loan was an option.
Yeah.
So the first thing was, it was about understanding how to have the conversation with a lot of these leads. And I think that's where a lot of LOs get caught up, is they can be difficult at first when you don't know what to do, right? When you're looking at doing a bank statement loan, it can be a little cumbersome at first. Wait, I got to collect 24, and how do I do the income? And do I do it this way? And I got 9 ways of calculating the income. How do I fit in? Do I have to talk to the CPA? Do I not? How? Right. You start looking at the information, and at first it feels pretty cumbersome. So a lot of people just put those off instead of reaching out. I know for a fact every one of the AEs you have here, they're willing to spend, let's all get on the phone with your borrower if I need to, or let's set up a workshop, or let me send you, what do you need? Some slide deck that walks you through exactly how to do this.
And we'll calculate it for you, right?
Yeah. And I see this, I don't want to call it a problem, but let's call it a problem. A lot of LOs get so stuck in their lane that they don't necessarily want to learn new things or venture outside of what they've done that has always worked for them.
Right.
But yet, if you ask those same people the question, if they thought the industry is the same as it was 5 years ago, 99% of them are going to say no. Well, why are you doing the same thing then?
Right.
So first thing it is really educating yourself. It's not even about going out to the CPAs or divorce attorneys. Chris Link was always big at attacking these divorce, right? There's a lot of creative ways.
Those are tougher loans.
that you can find these loans, though. Right. First, it's about understanding how to get the most out of the borrowers you're already talking to.
Right.
So obviously we might be in a different position going through as many leads as we can. But like I said, we have originators that have been doing this for years that never even knew how to have that conversation. So
at Fairway, do they still, in your kind of sphere, do they still pass on some of these non-QM leads and just hand them to other LOs that are willing to take them? Or does like on your team, does everyone just gobble them up and take the leads?
Now they gobble them up.
Yeah, because you probably taught them how to do some non-QM.
I started reaching out when I first got there to other teams that I knew were throwing away. I'm like, just throw them over to me. I'll throw your referral fee. Like the way our company works, you can tag 2 people on it. Company will still take care of the referral. So it's like, it's a great format. So these people that don't even want to touch them, I'm like, wait, you're getting business? Yeah. And you just don't want to take the time to learn it? Right? Everything I try to think about is compounding, right? So if you're saying no now, how much did you just lose of it? But sure, send that stuff to me.
I'll be happy.
That's always been the weirdest thing in this industry, is that this is your career.
Yeah.
This is your job.
Yeah.
I want to know everything. I want to know every guideline as much as I can. This is what I'm doing for a living. Yep. It's not like I'm going to do this for a year and then I'm going to go on a surf trip. This is my career.
Right.
And I'm shocked that it hasn't been taken more serious by people, because it's incredible. It's a great business.
Yeah. So the long-winded way of what I was getting at is we again, something you see in this industry is we tend to start to do something only when it's presented to us. Mm-hmm. In the sense that if you would actually take the time to learn non-QM in and out before you've ever done a loan, right? If you understand truly how the income works, go through a couple bank statement examples with an account executive, go over a couple prior scenarios, learn the program as if you've been doing them. That automatically gives you this confidence to start attracting those loans that you may have otherwise not even known were out there. Right. So it's about bringing awareness around the programs, how they work, and what's available to you, or even no ratio. This isn't even just about bank statement, right? Obviously, it's the most popular route.
Sure.
But your no ratio, no income programs. How many investors do we have out there that constantly want to buy an investment property? You go to qualify them. Hey, man, you're sitting at a 62% DTI, can't do anything. That may not even know that in the non-QM world, your debt to income doesn't even matter.
Right.
We're going to cash flow on this property alone. So it's about getting familiar with the programs themselves so that you're so confident in what you know that even before you've done a non-QM loan, now when these things are presented to you, you have a whole new arsenal to kind of put out there that start attracting things, right?
Right.
Manifestation's a big key word in the world right now, right? If you take the time to truly understand something top to bottom, you will start to manifest those kind of loans, right?
It's
because
so true.
You're bringing awareness to something that you didn't otherwise even know existed.
Yep.
So that's the big thing there. And that's something we've realized with a lot of our guys is, and to my fault, I didn't start doing this till about 6 months ago, but we started going over some of the key things to look for. A lot of times you have these application questions and you don't even get to the, I'm self-employed. You kind of cut them off at the legs with, oh, I don't have the down payment or whatever it is. You don't even get to that point to where you're allowing yourself to explore these options. So it's kind of changing the tune of the guys, asking the right questions, looking for the right things. And then when it comes to external partners, realtors. If you ask your realtor how many times, because some of the better ones out there, they will kind of pre-scrub these borrowers for you.
Yep.
But they will also shoot themselves in the foot by pre-scrubbing these borrowers for you.
Oh, yeah. They're like, I don't know if this
Right?
guy's going to qualify or whatever.
Yeah, I went to the bank. I'm self-employed. I write everything off. Bank didn't tell me I qualified for much. You know what? Yeah, talk to me next year. We'll just redo your taxes. So these realtors end up casting off a lot of these borrowers that you don't even get the chance to have the conversations with. So I started having conversations with my partners. Hey, do you remember anybody in the last year that didn't qualify with a bank that was starting to look? Yeah, I just didn't feel like wasting my time though. Granted, it's only happened twice, but that's in like the network of 10 I worked with, and both of them were over $1 million loan amounts.
Yeah. There's two deals right there.
So it's like being a lead shop, we have less realtor side, but I know a lot of, I know most all of your partner relationships are realtor side. You're not a lead generation shop, right? So I know a lot of LOs out there that depend on this realtor business, or let's say you're newer to the business and trying to build your book. Utilize this as you're in with realtors. Do you have any borrowers that wanted to look for homes that you kind of cast off because they didn't think they qualified over the last year? Right. Yeah, give me their info. What if I get you a free deal? You give that realtor a free deal off something they never expected, you just gained a business partner for life.
They'll take your call every time, too.
Absolutely.
One of the things I think is a benefit that you get being someone who has leads that come in is, and tell me, I'm going to make a guess, but tell me if this is right, you pre-qualify buyers and you bring them to your realtor partners.
Yes.
And that act right there is you're doing the opposite of what so many LOs do. So many LOs are just that don't have business, just call their realtor, hey, do you have any leads for me? Versus, hey, I've got a lead for you. The difference is so massive, right?
Always.
So the scale of it is what ended up being pretty wild. So this is something that we just closed the deal on, don't know how else to say it, about 7 months ago. So knowing the type of volume we do with this lead generation and how many pre-approvals we spit out, like I think our team right now, we're sitting on over 900 pre-approved borrowers. We have a few dialers on the team. They're taking like 200 applications each a month. So we're spitting out so many pre-approvals. Well, you got to put them somewhere, right? You got to make it worth it. Right. So we'll leave the names of the companies out, but there's a company that we had built a relationship with about 2 years ago that we knew if you worked at that realty firm, you had to send your deals to one of 3 lenders they used. So we knew, knowing this industry, eventually one of those lenders is going to, shit the bed. And so we got to squeeze our way in. So we spent 15 months sending them every pre-approval. They're in like 30 something states. We're licensed in about the same. Every pre-approval we'd send over to their team first, in hopes that one day it would pay back, and it did. So over time, one of the lenders shit the bed, and they're like, hey, you guys gave us $60 million in referrals over the last year and a half. We squeezed in.
It's about time to start using you guys.
And we were one of the third. So now we're one of the 3 lenders at a company that has almost 500 realtors across the country, right? And we get referral business back just the same way. It doesn't matter what the scale of that is. If you're a one-man LO shop, go find yourself a 4-person realty shop in your local area. If you send them 1 to 2 deals a month or every other month, that is the same as us sending them 60 million of the right. They do 500 million in volume as a team. So our 60 is nothing compared. Just like your 2 deals and a shop that's only doing 5 a month. Right. That's life-changing for that shop. Now you're getting that business back and forth. and then throw the non-QM knowledge on top of that. And again, you just gained a partner for life. So I think we get caught up so much in how we do things the old school way that we forget these little loopholes that can help establish these relationships.
Such gold, little gold nuggets right there. Love it, man. What else? As far as referrals, I mean, you named the CPAs, the divorce attorneys, doing these like lunch and learns kind of thing is always a good idea.
Yeah, I think the DSCR would be something worth talking more about. That program's incredible. And again, it's investor only. Right. You know what you're getting into. Everybody knows but that program has opened up so many opportunities for a lot of my clients who are investors, who are looking to buy more, add more to their portfolio, have 10 finance properties or more, or whatever. But the DTIs just don't work out conventionally.
Right.
So they pay a higher rate, but they get the home and it cash flows. I mean, that's the beauty is you got the 40-year fixed, 10-year interest only option on those DSCRs. It's like it is made for an investor.
It's made, yeah.
Yeah. And given our environment that we're in right now with inflation and all those things, like, why would you not want to borrow money for 40 years?
Exactly. Well, if you think about it, if inflation's at 7.9, and so in 1 year, your dollar became 7.9% less valuable, but you borrowed at, say, 5.9, they paid you 2% to borrow that money. Like, it's like free money, right? So,
well, not to mention 5.9 might be the real interest rate, but if you do the interest only program, you're cash flowing at it even better than a 2%.
Even better,
right?
Yeah.
And you already have, and a lot of people, what I've realized is a lot of people for some reason get scared of that interest only thing. But when you're looking at the investment route, you're already bringing in so much equity. You're putting 20, 25, 30% down anyway. Right. So why is your concern interest only when you've already built so much equity?
Right.
Even if we look back to 2008.
It's got a stigma. It's don't take an interest-only loan.
Yeah.
You've always heard like the grandfather say, right? Or like the wise people, like, don't take a 30-year fix, right? But what is that 30-year fix doing for you if, it's obviously a great tool if you're very,
And it is a 30-year fix.
Yeah.
You just start it 10 years later.
Right. You're going to kick that can down the road. But for now, you at least can get into the property. You can have a better cash flow.
And you can make a principal payment if you want. It's not like there's a penalty on it.
Exactly.
It's like they have these fears of looking back at 2008 because, what if it flips and lose equity? Well, even if you look at that, you put 25, 30% down on investment, which most people do on a DSCR anyway.
Right.
Even if you look at 2008, the average homeowner lost 21% equity. So even if the worst case scenario in the market we've ever seen happens, you are still not upside down and you are still cash flowing on a property.
Right.
So it's like that's what I love about the DSCR is keep throwing it at me. I don't care what way you look at it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of ways you lose on this program.
Here's how we know it makes sense is that the bigger mortgage companies are now offering this. The A paper lenders are adding this DSCR to their portfolio. They don't do that.
No.
You don't do that if it's not a good program.
Yeah.
I mean this is it. Non-QM invented it. But it is going to be adopted. I mean, give it a year, everyone will be offering it. Period. Because it makes sense. Everyone's
and
protected.
there's a market for it.
There totally is.
Wall Street wants it.
It's
good performing, great loans. Gets around the DSCR. Now you're just using cash flow to
That's
qualify.
a business purpose.
Yeah.
It's a win.
They're quick loans to do. They're light doc. I mean, it's easy.
Yeah, and I think that's another important outlet for partners, referrals, finding this business.
Yeah.
Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm just sitting here like, man, why don't I take advantage of this more? Because I got two partners that I routinely get referrals. And again, going back to the same people I blasphemized earlier, we get caught in our same routine and don't tend to venture out, but hard money lenders.
Yep.
Right? The biggest thing about hard money, their fear always, right? They're pretty much willing to do everything. You just got to prove to them that they have an out strategy, right? That's always their big thing. Like, okay, I'll lend on this, but what are you going to do?
Exit strategy is the first question they ask.
First question, exit strategy. So DSCR, again, is the biggest outlet for exit strategy.
Yep.
As long as the property appraises at an LTV that you need and you have the FICO requirements, pretty much nothing else matters.
Right.
Number of finance properties you have, all the other stuff doesn't really matter, right? So you're giving these hard money lenders an easy outlet, even if you're setting your pipeline up for, hey, every time you get somebody that comes to your door, I'll do a free consultation call with them to help you establish what their exit strategy is going to be 2 years from now. even if that's your way to kind of get integrated into this, right? Or everyone usually has one or two in their back pocket. What are you doing with your exit strategies now? We just kind of hope our borrowers find something. Great. Again, let me have a shot at all these. So
if you found the right person, they just give you a list. Here's all of our clients that we want to pay off because they're deal junkies. These private money guys, they want, let's churn it, get the points, right? So they'd happily just say, call these, see if they'll refi.
Yeah, like, hey, what do you have coming up in the next 6 months that you need to get off your books?
Right.
That they haven't committed to something yet.
And then they can go back and, get another deal with them or whatever. I mean, it's the business is so out there. We just have to find it. And
money hasn't stopped. That's the thing.
No, and the desire for money.
Right. It's just rates have gone up.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
So all of a sudden,
adjust.
The business is over. No one's working anymore. Rates are up.
Depressed.
I quit.
People get the bottles out. They're drinking more. No.
And that's fine.
Yeah. But I mean, the business is out there. And I think what you're talking about, you're talking about being proactive versus reactive, right? So we got so lazy with the easy low rates and just the business flowing that it was so easy to just sort of be reactive. Like, I got 6 new loans in my inbox today and I don't need to be proactive. I can just react to these 6 new loans and and then close them and I'm good. And then 6 new ones, more come tomorrow, right? I mean, what was your top month? Like how many loans what was like the top loan number of units you closed?
Units?
During this heyday?
Like my highest volume was much different than my highest units.
Yeah.
My highest units was like 16 units,
That's
but
still a lot.
Not even near my top volume. I ended up getting a lot of little, 250 poppers and stuff.
Those matter though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you get a lot, I mean, non-QM, tends to be a little higher loan amounts typically because they're, usually self-employed people. A lot of them are in California and Florida and ski resort areas, so they just happen to be bigger loans. But
and you guys nicely cap. Like, this is the minimum we'll go to.
Oh yeah.
Makes it a lot easier. I'd love to, but I can't.
I'd love to help you
do that $30,000 car loan on your house. But there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean, we all get paid on volume, right?
That's the business.
Yeah. So, and then with inflation, so, and then also just appreciation with these homes prices. I mean, there's a lot of people who have so much equity trapped in their home that, maybe some of them want to pull out cash and then buy an investment property or, just diversify. I mean, have you seen that where people are like, hey, I got $1 million in my home equity, I've got a low rate, but I'm willing to give that up. Have you seen that yet?
Well,
because that's coming.
I think something that I want to, and maybe you can share more light on is, let's say someone bought their house for $1 million. It's worth $2 million now.
Yep.
But the rate they have is 3%.
They don't want to get rid of that.
Not going to get rid of that. I mean, it's 3%, 40-year fixed 10-year IRS. It's the greatest deal I've ever gotten in my life.
Sure.
Why would I get rid of that? But I want to tap this equity because I do want to buy an investment property.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not going to refinance. Is there non-QM options opening for people to tap that equity? Like a bank statement,
cross collateral you're talking about,
or a bank statement second, or
there's
stuff
rumblings.
like that.
There's rumblings.
Okay.
Seconds might be around the corner.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I mean the values are there, right?
Yeah, they're there. I mean, and they're low LTVs. I mean, they can pull out $300,000 cash and still be, if their loan was $1 million and their house is worth $2 million and you pull out $300,000 cash, you're still really low LTV.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, and people taking advantage of the equity. Somebody we all know and love, Jason.
Yeah,
he bought his first, after not being able to buy for so many years, going tax returns. We bought his first investment property 3 years ago using bank statements.
Ton of equity.
Waited a year, equity built up, did a cash out of the property he purchased, used that to buy another property with his bank statements, waited a year, value went up, used that equity to pull out and buy a third property. So here he is, somebody that 4 years ago didn't think he'd ever be able to buy a house.
Right.
Because he writes off everything. And then over the course of the last 3 years, bought 3 investment properties that are crushing it on Airbnb, utilizing the equity from the previous purchase he did to buy the new one. Mm-hmm. Only had to come out of down payment pockets once, qualified all of his stuff with bank statements, and the cash flow overrides and supersedes any rate he's going to get anyway.
Right.
So
yeah, he did an amazing thing for his future by doing that. And he wouldn't have been able to do that without appreciation, without a non-QM loan, without your guidance. I don't know which one of you, I think you did. You did the one?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so there's just loans you have to tap into them. You just got to, use creativity like you're doing with Jason and like you're doing with your clients and, your referral partners. It's all out there. I think so. I just wanted to touch on. You said I can bring some light to. I'm a little older than you two, so I kind of seen one cycle before you have. When I got into the business, we were selling rates at 8.5 and 6 points. That was our first mortgage rates. And it was like a subprime company, right? And even the fixed 30-year fixed were in the 7s on prime, like on a prime jumbo or prime just Fannie loan. What the cycle was all these people had these lower rates and the rates were higher. They ended up taking out seconds, and so what we would do as a subprime company is we'd come in. We'd have them, they'd be like, I need some relief. I can't afford my life. Like my credit cards are this much, my car loan is this much, my house loan is this. My house is fine, but all these other things are, and I can't get a third mortgage, right? Like there were thirds. Like we did thirds for a while, but they had a first, second, and a third maybe, right? And then there's no more room to go after that. But they still had equity in their homes because this was like in the late '90s, mid to late '90s, and so then you had to consolidate all of that into one loan. So you take their first, second, maybe a third, their student loans, I don't even know if there were student loans back then. I just threw that out there. But there were, but they weren't as big as they are today, right? Like
college is a little more expensive now.
College has gone crazy. And so then they had like 10 credit cards, right? And so we took their credit cards, we put it on a sheet, hand wrote it. It was like, Chase, here's your payment, $600. And it was like $1,200, maxed card, and you just list the card, the principal balance, and then the payment, and then you at the bottom all of their debt. You'd come out and it was like $6,000 a month or whatever it was, and their income was say 7. So they're like, there's no way they can live this way. Like that's why they keep going up on credit cards, and so then we would do a whole new first mortgage and then take that's what did I say 6,000 down to 4,000 on a new first. And they'd be like saving $2,000 a month, and they would just like no brainer. They would do it over and
no
over.
longer mattered about rate.
Yeah,
it was
this payment.
Yeah,
and we could charge them 6 points, and we could do 8.25, and it still helped them out in their life. I mean, it was a 30-year fixed loan, and so then they did that, and then when the rates dropped, they'd refi, save more, and save more and save more. Some
and
of them
no longer were under debt or any sort of
So I mean, I think that cycle will come back. I think the seconds are going to come back, and then you'll see people tap into that equity, and then you'll see still people using credit cards because we're just Americans and we have to spend money, right? And so that's just going to happen. And so I do see seconds coming around, and then construction loans coming around and different things because there's just not enough properties being built, and builders are
demand is still high no matter what.
Well, yeah, because if someone gets kicked out of their rental, then all of a sudden their rentals double, right? Or they're not kicked out, but like they just the time comes and their rent's up, and they want to sell the property or whatever, move back in, and then the value goes up, and then the renter's stuck. They're like, what do I do? And so if you own your house, your payment's fixed, and then inflation, right? It's easier to pay back that debt, right? What else, guys? Should brokers and loan officers fear this current market that we're in? I mean, we've just kind of answered that, right?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest conversation to have with the borrower, and it's like, it's so elementary that you wonder why you get pushback sometimes, right? And mainly in the purchase market. Refinance, I get. And like sometimes it just doesn't pencil out. It's not going to make sense. But it's like when people start complaining about where interest rates are, I'm like, you're renting. You're paying 100% interest.
Yeah.
Like what else matters? Nothing. I don't care if you're at 7%. You're building equity in something.
Right.
At the end of the day, the only thing that should matter is, are you comfortable with the monthly payment? The interest rate should be a non-existent factor in that.
Right.
So it's like, that's the conversation I'm repeatedly having with borrowers right now. And it's kind of funny because it's like, yeah, well, 6 months ago, I feel like we missed the boat. We could have gotten in the high 3s. I'm like, you're paying 100% interest right now. Why does interest rate matter? Right. Then I kind of go quiet, and then they go quiet, and there's just like 30-second awkward, like quiet.
You hear the breathing.
Where it's like you hear the wheels turning. Like, oh yeah, like all that matters right now is you secure the asset. Yep. That's it.
Right.
Because look, I can. If you want data, give me an hour, and I'll show you any piece of data you want. Yep. Look at the market. Values and rates are going to do this for eternity. just like they always
You're
have.
going like this. I think it's like this.
Right, yeah, whatever it is,
Right?
right?
Over time, right? Over time.
Values, values. I'm thinking more rate market.
Rates,
like you're gonna be in this ebb and flow constantly. For everybody that refinanced in 2012, where rates hit 3.49 for the first time in history, that every LO said this is never gonna happen again. You think they expected to get the 2.25 they got about a year and a half ago? No. So it's like all that matters right now is secure the property, quit paying rent, and if you're comfortable with that payment, nothing else should matter right now.
As long as that payment doesn't change, like we saw in 05, like 07, when all those 228s were adjusting, and then people couldn't afford their payment.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that doesn't exist anymore, other than the 5.1s and the 7.1s. But
even those, I mean, you have
still
plenty of time,
IO.
and they're way better, and you have IO. It's like,
right.
But if you have concerns about all that, 30-year fixed is never going away.
Right.
We always have that option.
Yeah.
So it's like interest rate should never be part of the discussion, because if you can get out of your rent, you're starting to build wealth and equity. Over time, mortgage values are always going to increase. Home values are always going to increase.
Right.
And we will, with 100% certainty, sometime in the next 5 to 10 years, hit a rate dip in the market, and we will refinance you out if that's your concern.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like
if not at the end of this year.
Yeah, if not at the end of this year. So it's like to get caught up in what the market has just done over the last 4 months and have this like nihilistic mindset that, oh my gosh, business is going to end. Well, that mindset alone is what's going to make business suffer for you.
Plus, I think if the goal is interest rate, what they're really saying is interest payment, how much money they're spending in interest at the end of the life of the loan, right? Because if that's what you're meaning, right? Interest rate, people like it because it's an easy way to say that, but really what they're meaning is how much money I'm actually spending beyond what I paid for my home. If that's really, really that important to you, then even if rates are 8% right now, we'll pay your house off in 15 years and you just got a 4% rate. You know, like cut it in half. If you care so much about the interest you're paying, then A, don't borrow money, right? But B, if you're going to borrow money, then pay it off as fast as you can. If that's the focus. But I think once you get into that mind frame, then people start to realize, oh wait, that's not what it is. Right?
Yeah.
I don't need to pay my home off in 15, 10 years. What I really want is I want to be able to leverage what I have so that I can benefit my family, my future down the road. Okay. Now we're having a different conversation, but it's just, it really is. And to nobody's fault, we've been bred in this what's the rate culture.
And I think it's partly, not to get political, but it's the school. I mean, our schools never taught any financial literacy about home ownership, about interest rates. I mean, they teach you algebra, they teach you, some stuff about interest rates, but it's not a practical education about leverage and using interest rates to gain wealth.
Yeah, and even
Let's
more
note.
specifically, I think it's Dave Heidi that has joked about this a couple of times. Like, we're one of the leading producers of income in the country, right? The mortgage industry, what we bring to the GDP is insane, but yet there's no school for it. Even when you get into this, you learn from somebody else just trying to hold your hand and figure it out along the way with you.
Like he would say, some people that don't even know how to spell mortgage.
Yeah.
It's hard to spell mortgage. Mortgage. Yeah.
So it's just like, there's no education around it on understanding that the things we like to focus on from a borrower perspective mean the least.
Yeah.
And I had kind of a funny, one of the newer guys on my team was like, well, think about it this way. The higher interest rate you pay, the bigger your tax write-off is at the end of the year. I was like, well, if it's going to work, man, you keep using it,
I love silver lining.
Yeah, man.
I do need those write-offs, so give me a high.
Yeah, you're writing off more interest, so hey.
You quoted me a 5, can I get a 6?
Yeah.
Need the write-offs.
It is weird that there's no form of education. Because again, like the whole idea, even the American principles was built on like getting the white picket fence,
Right.
raising a family.
American dream.
But that part of that was owning a home. And so if part of the American dream is owning a home, why would that part not be included
Taught in school
at all? Even at the most elementary level.
Yeah. Like just leverage.
Yeah, like
in
house
borrowing.
and it's full, and then as it paid off, then once it's empty, you can fill with more things or what, I don't know.
Yeah.
How is that not a conversation? It's crazy.
It's crazy that it's not.
There's this secret hate against the mortgage industry. I don't know where it comes from. Someone doesn't like us.
Yeah, and again, it's people we get so myopic We don't look at the long run. It's like my mom. She bought her house 20-something years ago.
Sorry, Mom.
Got really screwed in 2008 with her 401k, and the equity she built just sitting in her home is now going to fund her retirement. She did nothing but pay her mortgage every month.
Yeah.
Did interest rate matter?
And she was going to have to pay some rent or a mortgage
Right.
no matter what.
Right. But did her interest rate matter over the last 25 years that allowed her to build a couple $100,000 in equity to make her more comfortable in retirement? No. Could have been 9%, and that equity's still going to be there.
Yeah. Even if it's just interest only
Exactly.
forever. Yeah. What do you tell the broker that is just like, non-QM's dirty? It's just, it's not even legal. Like it's just not a good business. It's subprime. Like
They're totally right.
they could. So there's some loans like that.
No, you know what's funny? It and especially now, like non-QM when it first started, it felt that way. People were unsure. Didn't make sense. It felt like it was subprime revived and just with a different face. But it's not at all. And in fact, submit a non-QM loan and look at your approval. There are things that are being checked better than agency stuff. So
I mean, at the end of the day, we're looking at all their bank records, like for 12 or 24 months,
Can't have anything there.
versus like, just give me an asset statement and your whatever.
now
you
they
do.
don't care if you go to Sinopolis or like get Chipotle
Yeah.
every day. Like there's no judgment in that.
You're
But
going to Victoria's Secrets. You're going to the casino. Like they don't do that.
no, it's strictly financial.
Tax system is literally, I mean, we see it all the time, right? There are loopholes built into that to purposely be able to manipulate. So just because it's on a tax return doesn't mean it's any more official than you give me your business bank statements for the last 2 years. You cannot hide anything from me.
Right.
I'm going to be able to see it all. And I've also done, in your case, maybe in the billions in business now, you understand what businesses do pretty well.
Yeah,
we got a restaurant that comes in and says their expense ratio is 50%. Like, get the hell out of here, dude. We
Right.
know how restaurants operate.
We know you're not crushing it that much.
Yeah, so you're able to better utilize, and like you said, your approvals might come out with 20, 30 conditions. It's like they're going to do their due diligence to make sure that you're writing a good loan.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're hiding any information. You're still having an actual income figure at the end of the day. Most of the time, you got to get a CPA involved if you're not doing a fixed expense ratio program. Like, there's a lot of checks and balances to make sure. And correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a couple years. Didn't they release, after like the first 5 years that non-QM was out, didn't they release the default and foreclosure data, and it was lower than what agency was?
I don't know if it was lower, but it was very close. Similar.
Yeah.
It might have been lower.
I thought it was lower.
It could have been lower.
But even if it's the same.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole thing. 2009 is not going to happen again because of non-QM.
Right.
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 It's a totally different world. Investors are smarter. The way that the whole thing is protected, but also this isn't like 99% loan to value purchases where you're paying neg am. Like you've got to put real money down. You have to really be making money.
Most of these loans have at least 20% down.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take all the information off the board. I'm gonna ask you what you think's riskier: 3.5% down, 57% debt to income ratio, versus 10% down, 50% debt to income ratio. What sounds worse?
Yeah. It's obvious.
Right.
FHA on paper seems like it's way worse than a non-QM loan.
Way worse.
Way higher DTI. 60% of your monthly income pre-tax can be spent on a mortgage payment.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and they'll take lower
You only have
FICOs.
to put 3.5% down to a 580 FICO, zero reserves. Or 10% down, higher FICO requirements, and reserve. You know what I mean? It's just like...
But no one felt weird doing an FHA loan.
No,
Like,
ever.
Of course. This
579 FICO. Let's do a rapid rescore. Get you to 582 and put you in this loan with only 3.5% down with down payment assistance.
Zero down, right? Yeah.
It's which is sent. Yeah, you could down payment assistance is a loophole of getting zero down because these counties want you to buy a home so they can get their tax money. Right. It's like. Yeah, FHA on paper, take away the names of the programs. You compare them side by side with just the minimum requirements and what you're bringing in from an equity position and all of the above. It looks way riskier. So that's why I always kind of chuckle when people are like, "Oh, non-QM's." I'm like, "How?"
Yeah.
Please explain.
You know why it's the name?
Oh yeah, it's just they're not qualified.
Because it's called non-QM. Like you got to give.
Yeah.
Someone's got to come up with.
Yeah, I
better
always
name.
thought that was. Kind
I know, I hate it. I like Alt
superhero loans.
Superhero loans. Superman loans. Alt A, I think was the thing I was
Just
fighting
never
for.
stuck, man.
No,
Yeah.
you remember that? I was like,
Yeah.
this is an Alt-A deal. Didn't we even have a banner of it said?
Yeah, and when I would call brokers to talk about it, they're like, I'm doing non-QM. I'm like, whoa, wait, what is non-QM? Why don't you just say that? Yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just had a better name.
So I'm curious. You brought up FHA. How many FHA loans have you done in the last couple of years? I mean, is it a lot, or is it like a
Lots,
percentage
Yeah.
of your?
Yeah, I'd say FHA and conventional probably battle for the top spot. You know, non-QM is the lesser part of my portfolio. Just with it being a lead generation source, you're gonna have a lot more people that fit within that box.
Sure.
Right. But
And were most of those purchases?
all of them.
All
yeah.
purchases. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say, probably 80% of my business is FHA and conventional, probably 40 and 40, with 20% running out to be like the non-QM, which the nice thing about non-QM is they're always the high dollar amounts.
Right.
So it makes up for 5 of these FHA loans I'm usually trying to push through,
Right. Would you say one non-QM loan is about the equal, like as far as time spent, one non-QM loan is equal to 5 FHAs, or is it?
Again, I think this goes back to one of the first things I said, where it's like you gotta be willing to spend the time to hone your craft. Yeah. And maybe I don't think it's that difficult because I had a leg up being an account executive for quite a few years doing non-QM. But like when I have a bank statement loan come across my desk versus an FHA loan, I feel zero difference between the two. I'm like, okay, I just need to do these things compared to these things.
Sure.
Right? Like there's no difference between the two because I have an understanding. So if you take the time to truly learn how these loans operate, you shouldn't have like this disparaging feeling of, I got a bank statement. No, it's just you collect different documents. What else is different? Title and escrow process is the same. Closing speed is going to be the same. Your contract's going to look the same. Yeah. Your down payment's going to be the same. Like nothing really changes except for, okay, I don't want your tax returns. I want your bank statements.
Yep. Strangely, less documents. Mm-hmm. Because the bank statements substitute the tax returns, W-2s, pay stubs.
Mm-hmm. P&Ls, none of that. Balance sheets, CPA
statement.
letters. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you have an easy one where it's like we can do a straight 50% fixed expense ratio, they make so much money, I don't even need to get creative with like a CPA expense letter or anything. Now you're avoiding everything. I have bank statements, 50% of that is income. I'm done with income now.
Yep.
Like and
maybe assets too, if it's...
Yeah. If there's enough in there,
And then you look at this time period of the year and it's like, I got to use last year's tax returns on this one. It's like, okay, you got to file and then you got to owe the IRS. Now we need proof from the IRS. Avoid all of that. You need none of that paper trail. Give me your most recent 24. We are done with income.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, again, as long as you get that fear center out of your way of just feeling overwhelmed and encumbered by not knowing what to do, take the time to understand it. And you realize a lot of times these are easier.
Right.
Because also the better you understand it, the cleaner your submission is up front, the cleaner your submission, the less conditions. And I've been guilty of that. I've submitted some pretty dirty loans and it's day 29 and I'm freaking out that we're not closing compared to I take my time up front, we're 20 days in and I got it clear to close. Well, that's on me.
Yeah.
So it's, if you just take the time to understand it, there shouldn't be like this mindset difference between the
But for those who don't want to take the time to understand it, my number is...
You can always refer the deal to Preston.
Send it my way.
Speaking of, some loans are going to be tougher than others, always. Whether they're FHA or, VA or
if they're friends and family, it will always be tougher.
If they're a buddy of yours, it's going to be tough. If you've had a bad experience, I'm sure you've had bad experiences with non-QM where you're like, God, this is tough. But then you probably had deals where you're like, you just submit it and forget it. Mm-hmm. So I think like the message to brokers listening would be like, look, if you had a bad experience one time, don't let that be like, lingering forever. Try again and just keep going at it, right? Like, because you didn't stand the first time you surfed, maybe, and you didn't, or when you're skiing the first time you didn't, make it down the hill like without falling, and just keep doing it, and you'll crush it, right?
Yeah, definitely give it a try. I mean, if you haven't done it, 100% go. But if you have and had a bad experience, just try someone else. I mean, there are a lot of bad non-QM lenders too. Just like there are a lot of bad conventional lenders.
Yeah, and I ask every LO, did your first FHA or conventional loan go well? No. You had a learning curve.
Sure.
You probably ate shit for the first year.
Yeah.
Right.
This
is no different. We get caught up in this like, We get so used to doing things, and yeah, there is a sense of like pride in this job where once you've been doing it for a few years and you've done a few $100 million worth of volume, it's like you look at someone new to it and you feel their pain almost because it's easy for you now. You know, it's like, I know we've both done this. Like we can go travel and I can work from a laptop and work the same as if I was in a home office, right? Because I've gotten to the point where it just becomes easy because I understand the realm and how to do it.
Right.
Again, just be willing to jump in. It's going to get to that point.
Yep.
Or you can keep letting money pass you by.
Yeah, and lean on people that you're working with, right? Like if you've got a great relationship with your account executive, lean on those people. Ask for help. Ask for guidance before you submit a package.
Yeah, use the hell out of them, dude.
Right?
Make them work for every penny.
Because they're making money.
You know it. Yeah.
They make money.
But no, I mean, and do the same with title and escrow, right? If it's a refinance, you pick the title and escrow company, you know, leverage them, have them get you that stuff up front, have them make your job easier.
Right.
So that when you submit a loan, you're not submitting like a couple pieces of paper, but you got a whole package there.
Right.
So that way, if you get 20, 30 conditions, you know that it's on the company you're submitting it to and not you yourself.
Sure.
Right. But if you throw stuff in there and you get 50 conditions, well, duh. And then you're like, well, it's so hard. Well, you made it hard.
You made it hard.
You did make it hard.
Do your job. Leverage the people who you're working with. I think, I mean, everybody gets paid only when deals close.
Right.
So we're all in it.
Yeah, makes everyone work together and work harder. And then there's always the one person that's like, I don't care. I
Well,
don't care when it closes.
The last 2 years have been an anomaly. It's created a lot of lazy people.
Yeah. Well, it was so easy.
It was so easy.
That's an understatement.
But yeah, when you didn't have to, I mean, you could be in your pajamas for like weeks
I
on
was.
end.
Just kidding.
Never showered.
I came to the office. I was wearing Viore, which is like the new pajamas.
It's pajamas.
Publicly appealing pajamas, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like I think that's the thing is it was so comfortable and so easy that now when someone's like, hey, you know, in order to make money, you have to work. You're like, what? Why? And you're like, it's only been 2 years, you know, like this hasn't been the way for the last 20 years. Just 2 years and how quickly no one wants to work anymore. So my advice to everyone is the rates increasing could possibly be the best thing for your career. Now it might hurt right now, but it's reminding you that you need to work to get paid. So go to work.
And people are paid a lot for not a lot of time that we spend right on deals. Like if you look back,
I spend a lot of time.
You spend so much time. But really, in reality, right? Like let's say you make a $10,000 commission. Let's just say, right, for $1 million loan. 1 point to earn that $10,000. Maybe you spend, I don't know, help me out here. 6 hours, 5 hours,
6, 10, 12. It's really difficult.
Yeah, sometimes 10. Yeah, but still, if you divide that 10 grand, it's $1,000 an hour. I mean, come on. We can roll up our sleeves and work, right? Get to work and do it. One thing that I've found in the non-QM business, and I'm just wanted to ask you guys if you feel the same way, is when you do these loans, there's a little more gratitude from the borrower for some reason, especially if they were turned down at a bank or another lender or somewhere else. When you close that deal and you give them the call like, hey, your deal's funded, or you congrats on your new house. There's some sort of gratitude that I found with non-QM is just not on every deal, but just percentage wise, like on the FHA or the VA or the VA, obviously they respect the military, but like just any other normal deal that any bank could have done. Like when you do a non-QM deal, it's just, there's a little special, like,
well, I think that like Austin was saying, the education even up front that you can qualify, even though your bank said no.
Yeah.
There are other ways. I think that is mind opening. And then when it actually happens, there's such thankfulness in the sense that they're not cast aside because they are self-employed,
right,
or because they do things differently than the rest of the world. And I think that's that beyond just a thank you I think that's just like, oh wow, okay, I still fit into this financial world that's loaning and spending and giving. Like I'm still a part of it.
Yeah.
Just because I don't do things the same way, I still fit into that, and people still will loan me money. I think there's a hope
special,
there for people. Yeah.
And I think when they feel that, then for some reason they talk about it more and they refer you more business.
Yeah.
And they tell their friends, oh, you should use Preston. He got me a loan and no one else could. I mean, some people are prideful. They don't want to say that, but they'll be like, oh, he was the best. He got my deal done. And, I'm self-employed, so I'm harder to lend to. But, have you found that in some of your business? Like there's more thanks.
Yeah, there's a vibrancy in their thanks.
Yeah.
It's like,
so I was like, thanks. Got to go back and buy my furniture. It's like,
yeah. And that is sometimes what's frustrating is it's like, this can be a very thankless job, and people don't understand sometimes the legwork that goes in the back of it. And it's like when you do have your traditional borrower where they shop you against 9 other borrowers, like you just become a number to them, right? Oh, you beat out and got me the best rate quote. Like, I'll choose you. Like, it's just very thankless compared to when you spend time with these non-QM borrowers that have been turned down, that never thought they'd be able to purchase a loan, either pay the IRS $50,000 this year that you're never going to see again, that will benefit you zero in life, or never buy a home.
Yep.
Like, what kind of option is that? There's not much a decision there, right? So it's like you help these people, and actually it's like once they get their keys, they're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, this is real now.
Yeah.
And then they start, I don't know if you get this a lot, but they start hitting me up and like, they got all these plans now. Like, dude, I want to buy an investment property next year. How much can I actually do? Do you do bank statement?
Yeah.
And they start wanting a game plan to get into it, and then they'll introduce you to their partner or whatever it is. That's another big thing too, is going back to earlier. I don't know why this just now hit me. I get a lot of people who are 25 or 50% owner of their company ask for their partner's information. That's an easy one. You already got that loan in front of you.
Right.
If you see right on paper, CPA letter, I'm 50% owner of this company, who's your partner then?
Yeah.
Do they need a loan?
Yeah. Love to talk
they got to be
Plus,
struggling with
I already got the bank statements.
Yeah,
I got the business bank statements already. Exactly. So you're already approved.
Yeah, but even having those conversations, like, absolutely, let me shoot it right back over to you. This is an easy one. I'd love to introduce you to so and so. So even asking for those favors or leave me a review, or they're like, it's always yes, yes, yes.
Nice.
Right, compared to having that sometimes thankless feeling that can come with these in the box.
Man, I've never thought of that. You just get this. That right there could double someone's business overnight. Just by
Listen, I'll be honest.
We already proved your partner,
and I'm pissed about it.
Patent pending. Yeah.
Amazing.
I got to remember that one because I don't know
File
where.
a patent.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, you literally could just. You already know they're in.
You already have the bank
You could
statements,
send that. You can call and be like, "Hey, did you know you're pre-qualified to buy a $2 million house?" And I got this realtor here, Sally. She'll call you tomorrow to get you some listings. I mean,
easy
There you
out.
go.
There you go.
this is movie magic. What else? Anything else? I want to wrap it up. I know we got to keep it, 1 hour today. So we've given a lot of good nuggets. I mean, you have a ton of ideas of how to originate that are super like industry secrets.
I don't share it with anybody.
No, why would you? But I think at the end of the day, there's so much business. If you just take a minute, even just get out a pencil and a paper and be like, write 10 numbers down. Be like, I'm gonna write down 10 things before I get up, and where I can get business. Whether it's like a conference, an entrepreneur conference, a business, self-employed, the Chamber of Commerce. Go have lunch with those people. See if there's anyone, CPAs, other realtors, Sally the realtor. Leads. There's a ton of business out there. We just have to rack our brain.
I would say a nugget to go home with is, especially now more than ever, treat your clients the way that if you were borrowing money, you would want to be treated. Because for us, it's something we do every day. Like, we're looking at bank statements, we're submitting loans. We know all the ins and outs. We talk with underwriters, we talk with banks, investors, all this stuff. For us, it's a different business. But on the other side of that, it
might be their only time.
It's a family man that's looking to get their first loan and get their home. Like, whatever it is, it's gathering documents seems easy to us because we do it all the time. But just simplifying it and letting them know you're there for them, talking them through it, what it looks like. As soon as you personalize the experience, you're no longer doing a business transaction.
Yep.
You're friends coming together and working towards the same goal. My goal is to help you get there. You want to get there. Let's do it together.
Yep.
You have an expertise in something you need help in, but whatever they do for a living, you're probably not a pro at. And so, I would say don't have such an air about the way that you do business. We rap out and we'll laugh about some debt to income things or whatever. But like at the end of the day, if you treat your client that way, if you value them as a human and you look at it, that will be not only a thankful client at the end, regardless of the situation, but it will be a referral source for you. So you win financially. But beyond all that, I think if we can just go around treating everybody the way, we want to be treated, it's a golden rule, right?
Golden rule. And it's just being a good human, right?
Be a good human. Yeah.
Don't be evil.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't a nonprofit business, but it can still have the same effect. I mean, in fact, what's crazy is if you can put someone in a home, you can change their trajectory of their life forever.
100%.
Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had a guy on the podcast, I think 3 or 4 times before, and 3 or 4 times back. He said the difference between a renter, their net worth, and a homeowner's net worth is like $260,000. Like a renter average net worth is like $6,000 or less, like $3,000 net worth. Homeowner over $250,000. So the difference that you just created for that borrower, that human, that person that you're helping, just you gave them like an ability to make a life-changing thing for their family, their future, all that.
And in this world of inflation, that's a tool.
It's huge.
It's a valuable tool.
It's awesome. So we're not curing cancer, but we're helping people. And hopefully, you guys out there listening, that you learned something today, and would love to hear your comments, share, like, subscribe, reach out to these guys if you have questions, pick their brains. I mean, they're nice guys. They'll help you out if you reach out to them.
Happy to help.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Yeah, thanks for
Appreciate it.
All right. See you next time.